It was the smell that finally forced the truth into the open. Not the screams, not the missing men, not the countless warnings. The smell. A thick, nauseating odor drifting through the hallways of a decaying apartment building in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Tenants described it as spoiled meat, as garbage left too long in the summer heat, as something that made your stomach turn before your brain could explain why. For months, people complained. Management shrugged. Police came and went. Excuses were made. No one imagined the smell was coming from inside apartment 213, because inside that apartment lived a man who blended perfectly into the background. Quiet, soft-spoken, polite, a man named Jeffrey Dahmer. And by the time the door to his apartment was finally opened, the city would discover one of the most horrifying crime scenes in American history. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960. From the outside, his childhood looked ordinary. A modest home, a working-class family, suburban streets lined with trees. But inside the house, things were unraveling. His parents fought constantly. His mother struggled with severe mental health issues. His father was emotionally distant, often absorbed in his work. Jeffrey learned early how to disappear. He became quiet, withdrawn, emotionally flat. Teachers noticed something strange about him. Not violent, not disruptive, just empty. Like a boy who was present in body but absent in spirit. He didn't react the way other children did. Joy barely registered. Sadness came and went without expression. What did capture his attention were things most children avoided. Dead animals. Roadkill on the side of the street fascinated him. He stared at flattened squirrels and raccoons with curiosity instead of disgust. He began poking at them with sticks, pulling them apart, trying to understand how they worked. Soon, curiosity became obsession. Jeffrey began collecting bones. He stripped flesh from animals in the backyard, bleached skulls, stored remains in jars. To him, this wasn't disturbing. It was comforting. He later said it was the first time he felt calm, the first time he felt control. By high school, Jeffrey was drinking heavily. Alcohol dulled his anxiety. It quieted his mind. It allowed his fantasies, dark, violent, sexual, to grow unchecked. He didn't understand them. He didn't know how to stop them. He only knew they were getting stronger. In the summer of 1978, everything changed. Jeffrey was 18 years old. His parents' marriage had collapsed. His mother had moved away. He was alone in the house. One afternoon, he picked up a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks. They talked. They drank beer. Nothing seemed unusual until Stephen said he wanted to leave. Jeffrey panicked. The thought of being alone again terrified him. So he grabbed a dumbbell and struck Stephen in the head. When the young man fell unconscious, Jeffrey strangled him. There was no dramatic chase, no scream for help, just silence. Afterward, Jeffrey dismembered the body in the basement. He crushed the bones, scattered the remains in the woods. No one caught him. No investigation followed. And in that moment, Jeffrey Dahmer learned a truth that would shape the rest of his life. He could kill, and the world might never notice. For nearly a decade after that first murder, Jeffrey didn't kill again. Not because he felt remorse, not because he was cured, because he was afraid. He joined the army. Hoped discipline would fix him. Instead, his drinking worsened. His behavior deteriorated. He was discharged for alcoholism. Back in civilian life, he drifted. He lived with relatives, worked dead-end jobs, collected arrests for public intoxication. Then came a warning that should have ended everything. In 1988, Jeffrey Dahmer drugged and sexually assaulted a 13-year-old boy. He was convicted. The judge called it a one-time lapse in judgment. Jeffrey was sentenced to 1 year in prison. He served less than half. When he was released, the restraints were gone. Milwaukee gave Jeffrey something he had never truly had before: anonymity. The city's gay bars, bus stations, and streets offered a steady stream of vulnerable men, runaways, sex workers, people no one would immediately miss. Jeffrey refined his method: alcohol, sedatives, a promise of money or photographs. Strangulation became his weapon. Quiet, intimate, controlled. But killing wasn't enough anymore. He wanted total domination. He drilled holes into victims' skulls, injected chemicals into their brains, trying to create living, compliant companions. Most died anyway. Their bodies were dismembered, photographed, stored, heads in refrigerators, organs in jars, bones preserved like trophies, all inside a small apartment with thin walls. And still, no one stopped him. Neighbors complained about the smell. Police were called. Jeffrey smiled, explained it away, blamed spoiled food. Officers left. One night, a teenage boy escaped his apartment, naked, bleeding, confused. Two women begged police to help him. Jeffrey arrived moments later, calm, polite, convincing. He told officers it was a lover's dispute. They laughed. They walked the boy back into the apartment. The boy was dead within hours. By 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer was spiraling. He was drinking constantly. The bodies were piling up. He was losing control. Inside apartment 213, evidence was everywhere. Human heads, dismembered limbs, photographs documenting every step, all hidden behind a locked door. Until one night, a man fought back. He escaped, and the truth, long ignored, long denied, finally came rushing out. On the night of July 22, 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer made a mistake. He underestimated one man. The man's name was Tracy Edwards. Jeffrey had met him earlier that evening. Another offer of money, another invitation to his apartment. By now, the routine was automatic. Drink, music, handcuffs. But something went wrong. As Jeffrey reached for a knife, Tracy fought back. He slammed Dahmer's head against the wall, twisted away, ran. Barefoot and terrified, Tracy sprinted into the Milwaukee night, one hand still cuffed. He flagged down two police officers. He told them a man had tried to kill him, and for the first time, they listened. The officers escorted Tracy back to the apartment. Jeffrey met them at the door, calm, polite, smiling. He tried to explain it away, but this time, something felt different. Inside the apartment, one of the officers noticed photographs lying in plain view. Polaroids, dismembered bodies, severed heads, human remains posed like objects. The room fell silent. Jeffrey exhaled. He knew it was over. When officers opened the refrigerator, they found a human head staring back at them. Another was in the freezer. A barrel in the bedroom contained acid and dissolving body parts. Drawers held bones. The smell suddenly made sense. Jeffrey Dahmer was placed under arrest, and Milwaukee changed forever. At the police station, Jeffrey didn't resist. He didn't deny. He confessed. Slowly, methodically, without emotion, he described each murder in detail. Names, dates, methods. He spoke of control, of loneliness, of wanting people who would never leave. Detectives listened in horror. They later said it felt less like an interrogation and more like a lecture from a man describing a hobby. Jeffrey admitted to 17 murders, some dating back over a decade. Most had never been reported missing. As the names were released, families came forward. Mothers, brothers, fathers. Some had searched for years. Some had given up hope. Many were furious, not just at Jeffrey Dahmer, but at the system that failed them. Police had been warned. Neighbors had begged. Victims had escaped. And still, the killings continued. For the families, justice felt incomplete because the monster hadn't acted alone. Negligence had helped him. Jeffrey Dahmer's trial began in January 1992. He pleaded guilty, but insane. Psychologists debated his mind. Was he a monster or a man sick beyond control? The jury decided he was sane. Jeffrey Dahmer was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms. He would never walk free again. In prison, he became quiet, read the Bible, spoke to clergy. Some believed he was remorseful. Others believed it was another performance. On November 28, 1994, Jeffrey Dahmer was beaten to death by a fellow inmate. His skull was crushed. His life ended violently. Much like those he had taken, there were no last words, no redemption, just silence. Apartment 213 was demolished, the building erased. But the questions remain. How many chances were missed? How many lives could have been saved? Jeffrey Dahmer is remembered as one of America's most infamous serial killers. But his story is also a warning. Evil doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it explains itself calmly. Sometimes it lives next door. And sometimes we don't listen until it's too late.